as a general rule, when it comes to that shit, I like when people go, okay, if somebody's like, hey, will you call me this? My answer is always the same. If it's somebody I know or have known
Yeah.
online or off, here's always my answer, and I think it's a good one. I will absolutely try to do that. I was like,
Yeah.
under the following condition, if or when I fuck up, you don't get to bite my head off and pretend I'm the scum of the earth, right?
Yeah.
You don't get to do it because it's not something I'm going to do on purpose. I'm not going to go out of my way to like make you feel bad, right? So
Yeah.
now that we've established that I'm not that guy that
Yeah.
does that shit, can you please treat me like I'm not that guy, even when I make a fucking mistake, like a person does every once in a while?
Yeah.
And if you can't even understand that somebody who's known you, for a certain amount of time in one way or another, or you've become accustomed to talking about a person a certain way and can't fucking magically retrain years of fucking programming
Yeah.
just overnight. It's not a fucking easy thing to do. And sorry, but it's hard to deal with. Like like if you applied this sort of thing to any other scenario, you'd understand. It's like from here on out, from this day forward, fucking ice cream is pizza.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to call ice cream anymore. It's fucking pizza. Okay, well it's gonna take some time for me to get used to that shit.
What? And now what do we call pizza?
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's gonna take some adjustment, and you gotta fucking bear with me. That's the only thing I ask about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like, fucking when it comes to Contra, it just seems to me like he's just found a new fucking ideology, and he's happy there for now.
Well,
I guess.
I mean, I think we're looking at someone who's just incredibly vulnerable to peer pressure.
You think?
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, I saw a clip from one of his videos from someone who was responding to him, and it was him talking about why people become white nationalists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was
Right.
talking about, well, if you're a white nationalist and you're always hearing people say that, people of color have these experiences and they can speak from their personal experience and you can't, and all this stuff. And he
Mm-hmm.
related all this stuff that is just rhetoric that only these really, hyper liberal SJW types ever say. And I
Right.
thought, this is the problem: is you need to get out of your fucking echo chamber, like so many others, right? It's like, because here's the thing:
Yeah.
the vast majority of us can't ever relate to what you're talking about, except when we
Absolutely.
go online.
Right.
So when you say, well, this is a typical experience, no, it's not a typical experience, except for you, because you're
Right.
surrounded with only that by only that kind of person,
And
right?
interestingly, his general attitude is skepticism towards anyone who doesn't share his ideas.
Yeah,
So, right off, no matter what's being said, or it's not even skepticism, it's outright, but these people are deceptive. And they are, everybody's a fucking suspected white supremacist,
yeah.
like
Everything's a
Tariq
dog
Nishad would
whistle.
say. Right, it's a
Everything's
dog whistle.
code.
Or if, yeah, it's a code, or if you're asking a question, you're sea lioning, or, I mean, nothing that I say can ever just be taken at fucking face value, ever.
Yeah, well, but then see,
With,
here's the
with some
thing.
code.
Here's the thing is, like I said, that the fact that he would say, well, the reason why people become white supremacists is because they're always hearing that, white people don't have voices and don't have a culture and all this. It's like, no, only in these tiny little cliques do you hear
Mhm.
this constant anti-white, anti-male, anti-cis, only in those tiny cliques, which means that if you think that's the typical experience, if you think that the average person who becomes, I mean, I can almost guarantee you that the average person who ends up identifying as a white supremacist, white nationalist, or anything, they probably have no actual acquaintances that talk like that. If they did, they
Right.
filtered them out long ago. You've completely misunderstood. Maybe they've heard your rhetoric and posted it on some site, and they're like, "Here's what our enemy's talking about," that kind of thing. But it's not
Right.
like their personal acquaintances are like that. And that's the thing is, these people, they don't understand that, first of all, not everybody is like you. Not everybody lives in a place like where you live. Not everybody thinks the way. Not everybody has the same friends. Not all of their friends are like your friends. Not everybody's experience is the same as yours. And
Right.
the fact that people can't put that together unless they're part of some like little cult where they can't leave. That's just
Yeah.
inexcusable. That's an inexcusable lack of imagination. And like I said, everything that he talks about, it demonstrates that he has an ever shrinking group of acquaintances who
Mm.
are increasingly fanatical in this kind of outlandish identitarian far left nonsense, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
then what happens is these people whip themselves up into this lather, and then they go and talk to someone who isn't them, and they find out that their enemies aren't as bad as they think. So they say, well, the only way I can rationalize this is if they're lying, if they're keeping their evil on the down low, if this everything is code, everything's a dog whistle, right? It's like
Hmm.
I remember seeing this one thing about these people in North Korea, and they were talking with I think it was some defector, and he said, "Yeah, since we're really small, they'll give us these brooms and say, pretend these are rifles with bayonets, and go bayonet this straw dummy that you're going to pretend is a foreign soldier." And he chuckled as he said, "Yeah," and then we all would stand in formation, and on cue we would thrust our imaginary bayonets, and we'd say, "Kill the American," and then you have someone who gets outside, and then they realize, okay, well, not everything is as I was told in this highly insulated environment. So the only thing
Yeah.
we can do is, like for example, Alan Alda, who was part of MASH, of course, about the Korean War. He went and did a tour of North Korea, and he was talking to various North Korean, I'll say peasants, because it's basically what they are really. And he
Mm.
put his arm around one, and he just towers over them because they're shrinking, from
Mm.
malnutrition. And the North Korean ordinary people, they were friendly but very nervous, especially
Mm.
around him. And it's like,
Right.
if they've been told all that shit, then when they finally meet the evil American, this towering, lanky old white man, it's like they have to say either we've been lied to, or this American is just he's a spy, and
Which
he's pretending to be friendly, but what we've been told is true. We really have to destroy us, and that's what I hear from a lot of these really far, just too far gone left wing types. Is they have to believe that we're all, like you and I and every other person, who's anywhere in the center between these two extremes, we're all just speaking to each other in code, right? It's all,
right.
we're signaling to each other, we're really
And
blinking and
here's
tapping our
and
feet
here's
or some shit, communicating the most horrible, imaginable white supremacist
right.
neo-Nazi agenda. They have to believe that. Otherwise, all their friends are liars.
Right. Well,
Or
and what interests me about political ideology the most is you've kind of touched on it. With the religious, I understood what was at stake for them
yeah,
if everything that they believed turned out to be a lie or turned out to be false. Generally, they had something to lose. And it wasn't just their time. They weren't afraid. Their biggest fear certainly wasn't that they wasted too much time at church, right? It was that, fuck, this whole supernatural element to life that I thought existed, which was a pretty big deal,
yeah,
doesn't, or
yeah.
it might not, or it probably doesn't, right? So they had something, they were gambling something. What exactly is on the line for people like ContraPoints
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
the moment, you know?
religious people are afraid of finding out that their God doesn't exist. I think that these hyper liberal types are afraid of finding out that their devil doesn't exist.
Right, I know, but like I'm saying, like, but what's the loss? Let's say
They're
their devil
they're
doesn't
friends.
exist. Jesus, I mean, fuck, dude. Like,
Get new friends. Yeah.
go outside, stand around, and just wear a fucking t-shirt with a band you like on it, and
Yeah.
just go walk around for 3 hours. You'll make a friend. Go to a bar, say hi to the dude. Hi. They just fucking be a person.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I just, ugh. I'd hate to be wrapped up in some kind of fucking ideology like that I depended on so heavily
And that
for
you have
whatever
to hate
my
yourself to be a
happiness.
member, to get your membership
Right,
card
especially if
renewed. You have to
you're a
hate.
white person, and then in their little clique, you have to just like take responsibility for a bunch of shit you had nothing to do with,
Yeah.
and like these fucking people are just riddled with fucking guilt
Yeah.
over nothing, over literally a big fat
Oh
zero.
yeah, I remember. Did I tell you? I don't know if I ran about this while we were recording, but Sophia Rune, someone Sarah and I also used to know. She's not like a major presence here. Probably not a lot of people have heard of her.
Mhm.
But I saw a comment from her saying that some white some white man who was some speaker. He's a professor of some kind, but he did research, and he said she was saying that he should step down and let either a woman or a person of color, excuse me, person of color step in and take, like, he should just like retire just to open and make sure that his spot went to someone who had some group identity that they approved of. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Just
her
massively
bio,
retarded
her
shit.
bio is just pure cancer because
yeah.
it's a typical SJW style bio where the entire bio is just them listing off their group identity checkboxes. You know,
Right. Yeah.
which is I'm sorry, if you have this little space and you have a paragraph to tell people about yourself and that's all you have to say, you are boring at the very least and insane
Oh, yeah.
and very impressionable. It's like, well, tell me about yourself. It's like, well, here's my race, gender, and it's like, oh, okay, no.
Right.
Tell me about yourself.
Right.
Who
Oh,
are
I fucking
you?
hate
What
that.
are
That's
you?
a red flag to me
Yeah,
instantly.
it
As soon as somebody
absolutely.
introduces, I'm a black. Okay, well, I
Yeah.
don't want to know you anymore. You're
Yeah.
fucking boring and like, yeah, like I kind of feel bad for those people.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they feel good about it. Okay, so I guess good for them. But see, this is the thing. This is why it's so much like a religion to me. Is that it'd be one thing if you were content on being this person, this identity obsessed human being, right? All on your own. And you didn't need anything
Yeah,
from the
but
rest of us.
who
But
comes to
by-
these conclusions on
right.
their own?
Well, what I mean is like they're going to be smearing this. They need me to agree with them, and if I
Yeah.
don't, then I'm the enemy. That's the thing. Like if I just said, "Okay, you go do that thing," no, you don't understand. By virtue of your very existence, you're oppressing people. You need to do something about it. And I'm going, wait, now you're trying to take me to church with you. I told you it's
Yeah.
okay if you believe in all this silly shit, but you can't ask me to go to church, man.
Yeah.
Don't fucking ask me to do that. And that's what they're pulling people in, and they're fucking. They're basically there was like a Sargon of Akkad had done this his This Week in Stupid show briefly, and he had talked about some guy who had recently gotten fired for making a racist joke to his black friend.
Oh yeah.
These are like longtime friends who some white chick overheard
Oh
the white guy talk in a southern accent and say something about grits. And this man has lost his fucking job. It was a pretty promising career, I think, in music of some stripe or something like that. But like, he's now been fired. And even his friend is going, yeah, this wasn't racist at all. I know
Yeah.
this guy. It was a joke. This is being blown way out of proportion. And I'm like, we now live in a society where this kind of shit happens because of these kinds of people.
Yeah.
I mean, this fucking, as the British call them, busybodies,
Yeah.
which I kind of like. But like, it's just fucking, what kind of person? Like, I can't even figure out why this person who lives in my neighborhood wants to talk to me. I can't imagine a fucking perfect stranger of having that with you all the time.
Yeah.
Carrying that shit around on your back all fucking day to where you walk past somebody talking. You have to insert yourself into it in such a way to get them fucking fired because they said something that you interpreted as being offensive, not to you, but to someone else involved in the conversation that you're not a fucking part of.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
Right.
It's absolutely fucking crazy.
Well, but yeah, like Soph's her profile was okay. She said she was a lesbian, so she got that right. She got 2 points there. She's a woman, and she's also not like a regular cis straight person. And then she says she's an atheist who's pro-religion. Right? And it's like,
Oh,
okay, just
God.
say Islam. Don't say
Right.
that you're pro. Just say Islam. Okay. I mean, obviously, you're trying to check the correct boxes. So you're checking. Okay, well, I'm not part of the religious majority in our neck of the woods, but I'm also pro the religious minority. Just okay, you checked the right boxes, but you could.
I'm not an anti-theist.
Yeah, you
Those
could have been
people
more
are the
explicit.
worst.
Yeah, exactly.
And definitely
and
not
then
an
last but not least, she
Islamophobe.
says white but against whiteness. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
like, look, you can't change the fact that you're white unless you're going to do the Sean King thing, which I think even they think is a bit of a farce. But you're going to make sure that you're self-hating, right? You
Right.
either check the correct box or you check the self-hating box, right?
I love his nickname, Sean King.
Talcum
Talcum
X.
X. Yeah. Funniest fucking thing I've heard all year.
But
That
it's
made
like
my day.
just imagine being around like a so-called friends, and like if you want to stay their friend, because they're very quick to exclude, very quick, and that's the thing, that's the fear,
Mm.
is the first sign of any trouble, and they'll say, oh well,
Excommunication. Yeah.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
wanna be-
you get excommunicated for anything, and then they hate you. That's the weird thing. Like, you look at the vitriol directed at someone that they, it's like, well, or they'll turn on you without warning. It's
Right.
like, it reminds me of like Michonne in The Walking Dead, where she is like walking with the walkers. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
like, it just, even though she's got some of them on a leash, and she's covered in their guts, so they they don't notice her. There's a
Right.
point where she just starts to feel a little bit uneasy, and she's like, they could turn
Right.
on me at any
Cut
time.
all their heads off,
Yeah, and
yeah.
just cuts them all to pieces. It's like,
Yeah.
that's what it must be like. You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
walking along with these zombies, and you realize that anything that you say or do, or they could also say, oh wait, we can eat her.
Right.
It's
But yeah,
like,
just like look at what happened to Lacey Green.
yeah,
Her feminism became white feminism
yeah.
as soon as she said,
Retroactively.
"I'll listen to people."
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh,
Still
there's
hasn't said I'm not a feminist.
There's
Still hasn't
this
announced,
girl who calls herself Penny Red, Lori Penny, and she's as batshit as they come. But she was stuck in like an airport, and then she started talking to people who weren't part of her in group, and she said, some of them aren't so bad, and you should have seen this shitstorm.
Oh yeah.
The shitstorm. And then she didn't do the Lacey thing. She just immediately
retracted it.
yeah, she just corrected herself.
Yeah.
And I
What
thought,
I meant
those
is that they're
fucking
all
people
horrible
are
pieces of
not
shit.
your friends or ideological allies. Those people are just horrible. But the fear, and let's face it, the vast majority of human beings are terrified of social rejection, right? It is a
Sure.
real threat.
Mhm.
It is a real threat to most people, right? So I can understand. Okay, I can't relate, but I can understand, if that makes any sense. Although, like I said,
I get that. I have the same kind of thing where it's like I don't like social rejection. It takes a lot of forms, but like when your social circle is revolved around rhetoric instead of like a real connection with other people, right? Like nobody. Like I imagine my little tight knit circle of friends just suddenly said "fuck you" and never spoke to me again. I'd be devastated.
yeah,
But they would have to do it on some grounds like. We just don't like you as a person anymore.
Yeah.
You did something last weekend and we just can't let that go. Right. Whatever it might have been, it would have to be something pretty hard hitting. It could and would never be, because they wouldn't be friends of mine if it could. I don't like his opinion on religion. Off he goes.
yeah,
Like, and when it's that, when your relationships and your friendships are that fragile and based on literally just ideology, of course they could fucking just come apart at any moment. And that would be kind of terrifying if, in fact, that was your only link to like friendship
yeah.
and camaraderie and things like that.
Yeah, and it's like, did they ever even like you as a person at all, if that were the case?
Of course not. And that's the other part that would bother. That's why I didn't form friendships based on vapid nonsense like that.
Yeah.
Just useless shit. Like, people change their mind about the small things, and I like people that scrutinize shit. Right? They don't just go, yeah, you know what? I feel really bad right now, so yeah, I'll go with that. You made me feel like shit, so yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. The whole thing is just, God, I would hate to be in a position where you have to be carrying something with you at all times.
Yeah.
It's just like this fucking burden of that has to be on you at all times. And I don't know. I don't know if I could deal with it. I don't know how people like Contra deal with it.
Not very well.
Yeah. I mean, fucking, I don't know. Go make some friends that actually like you. How about that?
And, pardon me for micromanaging or maybe this is over the line, but you might not want to look like a Hatsune Miku style Vocaloid character. That's the other thing. I was talking about this with two women in real life, and they're Like they don't really internet much, so there's a lot of this is strange to them. But
Right. Yeah.
this one woman has a house and she rents it to this guy,